Welcome, welcome. Well, my esteemed guest, what can I get you this fine night? You seem a little run down. You sure you want to be drinking tonight? Don't get me wrong, I'd love your company, and the coin doesn't hurt. But I don't want my customers to burn themselves out. Well, okay. If you say you're good, then I'll take your word for it. But I must say, my throat is getting rather dry. Yours too, by the sounds of it. I dare say I couldn't continue our banter until we wet our palates. Very good. So, what shall it be? Need a menu, do you? I suppose you may not be too familiar with these drinks. Most come from my home, after all. Oh yes. Very safe for human consumption. I would not be a very good bartender if it wasn't now, would I? Here's the menu. Perhaps I give you a simple rundown, and maybe we end up trying all of them. Who knows? Well, they are all very tasty in their own right. Alright, first off, we have a more casual cocktail. Very easy to drink, even easier to lose the night to. It is the Ghost's Tongue. Don't worry, no ghosts are harmed in the making of this. Not anymore, at least. A simple 5 spits of spirits, a handful of white tongue leaves, just over 1 spit of sugar sap, and a bit of lime juice. Oh, and 2 white tongue sprigs. That is my realm's most common cocktail. Not doing it for you? That's okay. Perhaps Village Centre could do. 4-ish spits of pauper tears, 1-ish spit of old lady, 3 spits of cranberry juice, half a squeezed lemon, and 1-ish spit of sugar sap for good measure. Still not feeling it? Okay. For now, I'll just get us some beer. Nothing fancy. I'll pay. Only if you stick around until we've closed up. Don't worry. It won't be anything evil. A little devilish, but nothing too bad. That is the good stuff. Now, drink up. We'll only be open for another hour, so you won't have to wait around too long. And that should be the last of them. Oh no, I don't do any of the washing up. Never liked doing it. I always get one of the young lads around the village to do it. I do pay them a fair wage for it, of course. A lot of work scrubbing and cleaning them well. As well as getting all of yesterday's food off the plates. Enough of that though. I didn't stay back and hold you back to chat about some minor job. I wanted to just have a heart-to-heart with you. To see the world from your eyes. Yeah, it may seem a little odd, but hey, I'm not from here. Everyone has a different tale to tell. A new and insightful outlook on life. It gives me a good perspective, yeah? So, let's hear what's gotten you to this place. Well, it certainly isn't the first time I've heard of a struggle like yours. but that isn't me trying to lessen your experiences. Rather, it should stand as an example of those issues being far too common. You grew up poor, less well off than most. Some nights you'd go to bed on an empty stomach, always dreaming of becoming so much more. Once you were of age, you started working yourself to the bone, just to get away from the little mud squalor you called home. I suppose once your parents died, there wasn't much there to keep you around. And now you work and travel day in and day out. But you've grown tired of it. I sympathize. Truly, I do. But I suppose the best solution would be doing something about it. I could provide quite a helpful ally if I travelled with you. You could swap up professions, become the adventurer you always wanted to be. What could I provide? Well, dear human, I am a demon. I have 1,000 lifetimes of experience in this over you. I can do just about anything I please. But if you haven't been able to tell, I'm a little trapped here. I may have been a little overzealous a few years back. I thought I could gamble my way around the world this time around. I thought it'd be fun. See, I've been around the world a few times, trying different tactics and all kinds of work to get an idea of things. I was having a lot of fun and doing very well for myself. Up until I met the owner of this joint. No, I don't own this place. I do run it, however. The owner doesn't even bother coming to check the books now. Feels just like yesterday, really. It was a warm summer's night. Laughs in the air, booze in the streets, and all kinds of characters were laid about. I'd seen yells and cheers coming from a large grouping. In my excitement, I wanted to see what the commotion was about. I was rather surprised when it was just a simple game of cards. The audience was so engaged with the folks playing, I knew I had to join in. They weren't even surprised when I, a demon, the kind who slaughtered thousands of humans in the past, had asked to play with them. When I sat down, I could get a proper read of the group I'd joined. Such a strange bunch. A minotaur. She was quite petite for her kind. Still rather monstrous and bulky, but in comparison to her brother watching over her, not even close. That boy could have ripped me in half. An odd-looking human, hooded, a sleek look to him. Under the large garb there were glints of fine jewellery and shadows of well-tailored clothes. I'd seen it before and could tell it was of elven make. They didn't seem confident in their magic disguise, so had the garb as a backup. Next was an elemental. Seeing it was summer, it had been kind enough to take the form of water that evening. Thankfully, it cared for human sensitivities such as temperature. Had it been a fire, or anything remotely close to that, it would have been a little problematic. And then there was the owner of this establishment. An older-looking gentleman. He had a nice large belly from decades of enjoying beer, with a jolly white beard to rest atop it. His confidence was radiating off him. He wasn't even fazed by the species he was up against. Then, finally myself. A dark-skinned demon, red highlights and horns to match. I believe I was wearing quite a refined suit that evening. Not that appearances really mattered to this folk. I'd have rathered being shirtless and just wearing shorts that night. Even for me, it was a rather warm night. Once we exchanged greetings and received our hands, we played into the night. To my surprise, the crowd loved it. The excited plays, the shocking turns and stunned expressions. I didn't even care how the games were going. By the end of it, I was having so much fun enjoying the company of those around me. But we eventually received our last hand of the night. Well, morning by that point. The crowd had dissipated, only a few onlookers by now. We were all rather drunk at this point. Q, the Minotaur lass, seemed quite interested in me, leaning into me and trying to snuggle, despite needing to win desperately and basically showing everyone her hand. I'd have gone there, but, well, her brother was watching keenly, as stoic as ever. Scariest thing I've ever seen. The elf, Harvin, gave up trying to hide himself. He'd stripped away the disguise, left the formalities behind, and lived in the moment. The elemental never quite got its name. Very hard to pronounce. Especially with, well, it being all runic and symbols. It was drooping all over the place, barely keeping itself together. It was, admittedly, very funny, even if it could have led to a lot of issues. I'd like to think I wasn't in too bad of a shape myself, but I know I must have been a mess. The stories I've heard of myself are, well, very wild. Then there was the old man, Gabe. He hadn't changed a bit. Maybe a bit of a red flush in his cheeks, but nothing else. And every one of us had been to the bottom of our cups 10 times over. So, one last game to finish off the night. Our hands were dealt. Q had to fold almost immediately. She turned around and threw up all over her brother's pants. It was the first time I'd seen him move all night. I was expecting him just to stand there and take it, but he started freaking out and ran off to go wash it. Past that, the elemental folded. Not happy with the cards, it called it a night and slithered off into the drain, down to its home. It was only down to the three of us. The demon, the elf, and the human. Wars took place between our kind, and yet, here we are, playing a game. I'm glad the times changed. Gabe asked us to up the stakes, all in or nothing. It didn't matter at that point. I decided why not. The money I'd taken with me that night was something I was willing to lose. I'd gotten hours of entertainment out of it, so I thought nothing of it. It was a night to remember for the experience, not the cost. Harvin wasn't having it. He needed his money to stay in the next city over, and I understood. He folded, then packed up and left. Final go around. Gabe bribed me with something I couldn't refuse. Servitude. He knows us demons love deals, but we love gambling on them even more. If I win, I have him serve me until death. If he wins, I serve him until he says so. I couldn't help myself. I gave in to temptation and accepted the deal. When the cards were flipped and our hands were shown, well, you can see where I am now. Despite it being a contract of servitude, I have enjoyed my time here. I learnt a lot of new things and met amazing people. I even see some of the people from that game every now and then. Gabe doesn't make many appearances anymore. I made this place beyond successful. He has opened more taverns and inns across this region now. I do yearn to see them. To see the world again. You can't stop the world from turning, and you can't stop this demon from travelling. So I must amend the deal. You could take over the contract. Find a trade for him to find equitable. If you do, I am more than willing to serve you for a time. Just ideas to throw around. I have the day off tomorrow, so why don't we go for a little adventure? There's a settlement nearby that's been having troubles. We can look into it and see what we can do. Yeah, that sounds great to me. I'll see you tomorrow.